All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome to all things remodeling websites that win jobs. So today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is websites, because websites are truly, when you hop on the phone with a marketing company, it's kind of a battle, I would say, because a lot of marketing companies always, I always hear this all the time of like, yeah, every marketing company just wants to sell me another website. And I love to talk about this, and I love the quote unquote battle back and forth because, yeah, there's a lot of that where people do just want to sell you a website, but there's also a lot that like it's kind of what you need, right? It may not be what you always want, but today is all about basically what the website should really be doing within the remodeling business. Like when somebody comes into us and goes, hey, I need a new website, the first thing we ask is not like, great, what do you want to spend? It's like, well, why? Like, what is the function that the website's meant to play within the business? Because there's a lot of misinformation around what a website's really meant to do. Last month, we were at Job Trade Connect, and basically at our booth, a lot of people come up and they want to talk more about, the referral quality leads and SEO and AI search. And the thing that most everybody says is, well, my website, it's good. I just, maybe a couple tweaks here or there. And ultimately, once we then dive more into what the website should be doing for the business, it then very quickly goes from a couple tweaks to, oh, I never really realized it should be doing that thing. Or I always thought it should be doing that thing, but it's not, and I couldn't figure out why, but now it makes sense. So that's what today is. At the end of all this, I'm going to go through a bunch of slides that explain how it all works, because I personally don't like showing up to something where it's just Q&A, going, what questions you got? But at the end of this, whatever questions you may have around website stuff, go ahead, put it in our Q&A chat, but also I'm doing live audits after this. If you want to have me go through your website and talk about these are the things that I would update and I would approach and do a little bit differently, that's going to be the goal. I'm a business owner myself, so I know how much I care about, growing CGN. So it sometimes isn't always the most fun thing to go to somebody else and go, hey, roast this thing that I've either spent a bunch of money on or I built myself. It's basically like asking or telling somebody else like the name of your child before it's born, and everybody goes, ooh, that's a interesting name, and then it makes you second guess stuff, but ultimately, you probably don't want to name your kid Gertrude anymore, and you don't want to hear it until somebody goes, it's kind of an old school name, and then it's beneficial in the long run. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about remodeling websites. So jumping into it, you're probably in one of three boats, because pretty much every single person that comes to us that is looking for more higher quality leads, more consistent leads, their website, which is a huge, huge part of how a consumer and a homeowner buys from you, they're in one of three boats from a website perspective. Either one, the website looks like this, and basically it is a website that is just littered with text and copy and very minimal images. And immediately I can go, look, that was built by an SEO company. And basically the website itself is being found higher up in Google and in SEO, but when it comes to conversion, and when I say conversion, what I mean is somebody is coming to the website and then are they actually turning into a lead? This is very low conversion. So it's easy to get found, but when somebody goes on there, they go, not really looking into that. The next one is the opposite. It's a website that I see that I can very quickly go, okay, this was either done in-house by somebody who understands design, or it is done by a branding company that is not focused on SEO or being found. And then a way that I typically know that immediately is this part that I highlighted right there. That is something that we like to use to say to Google, hey, this is kind of what this is all about, so Google understands it. Now, right here, I blocked out the name. It's a beautiful site. They do really good work. But it says our architecture level design build services in LA and Pasadena are built for homeowners who want the entire residential design and planning process led from the very beginning through project completion. And Google's going to read that and go, I have no idea what they're trying to do. I understand a couple things, maybe like design build, maybe something else, but they're ultimately confused. And this type of site is not really going to be found. So it's got very low SEO, but when the right person gets to this site, it's going to be a very high conversion. So it's the opposite of the riddle with text one. And then you've got kind of the middle ground one, which is you've got like this local agency that they know a little bit about, like it's important to get found in Google, but it's also important for it to not look, totally ugly. That's this middle ground one where they start to infuse some design elements, but basically it's kind of mediocre in both parts. It can get found a little bit easier than the one that we just saw, but as far as conversion goes, it just feels kind of generic. And basically, all three of these things is not what you want. What we want to do, and we're going to talk a lot about today, is balancing SEO, which is being found, and we're going to talk at the very end of all this about AI and how this all factors into it, but also conversions. We just spent a bunch of time and energy and effort and money to get people over to our website, and they're not even turning into good quality leads. Why is that? So it is this tightrope that I feel very confident saying that we are one of the best, if not the best, in the industry when it comes to this for remodeling, because we put such a heavy emphasis on are we getting found, but also what is our conversion rate from when people come onto the website. So today is all about combining two things, SEO and being found, and conversion being we're educating but also persuading to say that we're the best fit. We're combining these two things that naturally are looked at as like mutually exclusive into one thing. And it's kind of like you think of that, you can have something that's fast or cheap or very well done. You can only pick two. SEO and conversion is kind of the same boat. You kind of want to pick one lane and go after that one and try to finagle the other side, but we actually do a very good job of combining the two. All right. Our websites versus their websites. So we measure conversion rates, and again, that means somebody comes onto the website looking for a service that one of our clients offers. The average remodeling website that we build has a 2.25% conversion rate. That means that for every 100 people that come on the website, 20 or 2.24 fill out a lead. The websites that come to us, and a lot of times these people are going, I don't need a website, I just need SEO. Their websites convert at 0.38, which basically means for every 100 people that come on the website, 0.38 leads come through, which is like, I don't know, their knees down, 0.38 of a person. But either way, the whole thing here is when somebody comes to us and they go, I don't want a new website, I just spent a bunch of money on a website, or I think it looks fine, or I think I need to upgrade, I just need more traffic. That's inherently the big issue, is that most people don't realize that if you fix this problem, where if both websites get 1,000 people to it, if you simply just fixed how the website functions, after 1,000 people, somebody else's website is going to convert 4, our website is going to convert 22. That's the difference here. So it's basically just recognizing that we don't always have a problem where we need to do more ads or more SEO or more this or more that. A lot of times it's simply conversion. All right. Another analogy to give it to you is like you have somebody who cold calls 1,000 people a day. And you can either say, all right, you're landing 5 sales out of 1,000 people. So you can either call 10 times more people to get 10 times more sales, or you can call that same 1,000 but get 10 times better at sales to close 10 times those people. So both ways work, but one of them is simply kind of fixing the symptom, and one of them is actually diving into the problem, and today's all about that problem with the websites. This is how we approach the whole idea of somebody going, I'm not getting enough leads and qualified leads to my website or through my website. What do I do? And the first thing that we always do, and we're going to talk about each of these facets today, is first, do people even want what you sell and use the internet to search for it? This is the first place that we always start. So if somebody is basically saying, I want to get more, leads for lime green kitchens built by a guy named Logan, that typically is not something that somebody is searching for on the internet. So it doesn't matter how number one on Google you are or how good the website is. It's almost too specific. All right. I used to work at a website design company before I started CGN, and a lot of their clients were actually government contractors. And they would go, I want SEO on my website. And I would ask them, well, how do people actually buy your services? And they would go, well, I'm on the government's pre-approved vendor list, and that's the only way that I'm able to, get business. And I was like, oh, so do you need to be on the list or do you need Google? Because it sounds like the list is the only way that people are going to actually reach out to you. So this is the first pieces, or people actually using the internet to search for what you got. If you're a remodeler and you're watching this, the answer is yes. Next piece is great. Now that we know that they're actually seeking you out, can they find you when they're searching for it? Next is perfect. Now that they can find you, does the overall solution to whatever their problem is, their kitchen's ugly, it's too small, it's falling apart, does the solution that they see actually excite them, regardless of who does it? Right now, you're a very expensive thing and you're a commodity, right? You're selling a new kitchen. And they want to know, is this commodity of a new kitchen going to be the thing that actually is worth $150,000 to solve my frustration? Then once we get them excited and they go, hell yeah, I want this kitchen, then it turns into, now why are you the one that should be providing this kitchen to them? So it has to go in that order of, do they actually want what you got at all? And they're using the internet. Then can they find you? Then does this actually get them excited and want to move forward? And then finally, why you? And when we go in that exact order, that is how we go from a 0.38% website to a 2.24% website as a whole. All right, agenda. Super simple today. I'm going to try to breeze through basically 9 years of website knowledge. We've done 800 of these things, and we've done a lot of updates and iterations, and we do a lot of testing and watching how our homeowners are going through our clients' websites, page to page to page, and what buttons they're clicking on. So I'm taking all of that and compressing it into basically 3 topics, which is going to be SEO pages, project pages, and differentiator pages. So it's going to be nice, simple, and quick. And at the end, we're going to rip through some live audits and see who's willing to hop on. So if you don't know who I am, this is the first time you've seen me. Logan Shinholz for our own Contractor Growth Network. If there's a stage that is focused on remodeling industry, I've probably spoken at it. So just a quick tip, I've done this a lot. Had CGN for 9 years. Started because my dad had a pond company and basically said, my marketing company sucks. If I'm going to waste money on marketing, might as well waste it on my own son. Do you want to try it? And I was like, sure. That's a great backhanded compliment. I'll figure this thing out. 9 years later, here we are. Our whole methodology is kind of backwards of what the rest of the industry talks about, which is what you're going to learn today. And that's basically, instead of going, you want more leads? Great, let's get way more eyeballs onto you. It's really flipping it on its head and actually focusing on what are the great things that you do offline and put it online. The way that we approach it is inside out. So the first thing we always want to focus on is, what is the actual problem that your ideal client is facing? All right, so let's focus on who we're going after. Then it's, how do you actually help them solve that problem? So it goes from their problem to your solution. Then the next piece is, can they actually see you being the one to help them? Then it goes into, can they find you when they're looking? And then finally is the last part, which is branding, which is, do they know you before they even start looking? Today is going to talk about a little bit of like the first 2 in the bottom, but it's really going to be on, can they envision you helping them? And can they find you when they're looking, which is all about the website and SEO/AI search. All right. To then put this in a step-by-step process, that really comes down to, how do we actually generate these referral quality leads online? Right now, when we look at because we measure all the leads that come in for our clients, it's like 60.4% of the leads that are generated through the website are qualified leads. All right, so it's not batting 1,000, but it's a hell of a lot better than what it is if you just run a bunch of Google ads where it's 38 to 1 type deal. All right, ICA, USP. Then we're going to talk about some branding and marketing. Then once we have those dialed in, that is where the website comes in, which is what today's all about. A little bit of SEO and AI search, and then video, meta video ads, stuff like that. That's like higher level stuff. Maybe sometime we'll have a webinar on that. But if you want to learn more about, like the overall game plan of how this stuff works, we did a really in-depth webinar on that a couple months back. We can go ahead and link to it if Aaron wants to shoot that out. But either way, it's a really good one. So without further ado, let's jump into the meat of the stuff. And my goal is for you to walk away going, I know how important my website is for my business. All right. I cannot stress that enough. We put a lot of energy and effort into the websites. I go home and I show my wife the latest websites that we build. They're super cool. We put a lot of energy into them because they're that freaking important. They are if you're somebody going, yeah, the website's fine, but you're not actively sending people back to your website to pre-qualify them and educate them and actually sell from it, then that's how you know, that's another indicator that the website needs to be updated because it's not doing you justice. And if it's not for you, then it's acting against you, and that's not what we want. All right, so the first piece is, do people even want what you sell and they're using the internet to find it? The first thing is, are people even searching for your stuff? Again, if you're on here on this webinar, unless you sell a very unique, specific product, then they are looking online. And you may be thinking, well, maybe the lower end people, that's not true. All right, higher end people, I mean, we're doing a major addition at my house right now, costs a lot of money. We use the internet for this stuff, all right? So people do use the internet for this. So we can check that box, we're done. Next piece is, can they find you when they're searching for whatever it is that they're searching for? That's the next piece, and this is really where the website comes in. So if you want to get found for the terms that you think people are searching for, so kitchen remodeling company in Charlotte, kitchen remodeler near me, kitchen contractor near me, things like that, what you need is something called a service page. And a service page is literally a page specifically for a service that you provide. It is that simple. The problem here is, especially as you go more towards like a branding agency, branding companies that want to build your website, they just want one single page that says, here's a list of all the services that we provide. Google is very smart, but we still need to feed it information, and we still need to say, this is the specific service that we provide in this specific location. That is how Google very quickly understands what are the actual services and locations that you provide. So if you are looking at your website right now and you're like, all I have is a single page that just says, maybe it's interior remodeling and it highlights a bunch of remodeling services, or you just have a bullet point list or whatever that is an issue. Flip side, if you just have portfolio pages, that's like, well, I've got a bunch of individual kitchen galleries. Again, Google's pretty smart, but you need to specifically say, hey, Google and people, I actually sell this thing as a service. That is what we need to have. Now, for a service page, what you actually want is a specific service page of what you offer in each of the main areas that you serve. And here's why. Charlotte, which is where I live, is the main metro hub. All right? Lake Norman is up north where the lake is, and Dilworth is the neighborhood that I live in. Now, if I'm in Charlotte major metro, the kitchen style for that could be very, generalized, right? We're talking about little kitchens, big kitchens, what have you. The kitchen style for Lake Norman, because it's on a lake, is if you think about why somebody's remodeling their kitchen at the lake, they're probably doing it for hosting reasons. They want to have a bunch of people at their lake house and have it be awesome, but ultimately, the way that somebody is going to approach remodeling their kitchen in Lake Norman is different than in Charlotte. And now let's take Dilworth. Dilworth, which is where I am, my house was built in 1946. I'm doing an addition right now because it's a small-ass house. And next to my kitchen, which is very closed off, is a formal dining room. So the way that in Dilworth we are going to approach remodeling our kitchen is probably more about opening up walls or reconfiguration for better space. So yes, the way that you provide a Charlotte versus Lake Norman versus Dilworth kitchen may be pretty similar, but the things that make it feel specific to the person living in that area is what needs to be different about each of these pages. So you should have a kitchen remodeling in Charlotte, kitchen remodeling in Lake Norman, kitchen remodeling in Dilworth page. Same thing for bathrooms and basements and home additions. All right. Again, you may be thinking, well, it's the same. It's design build. We just design the kitchen and we go off from there. But people want it to feel specific. If I am Googling kitchen remodeler near me, and I see a page pop up, I see 3 pages pop up. One says kitchen remodeling in Lake Norman, one's kitchen remodeling in Charlotte, one's kitchen remodeling in Dilworth, and I live in Dilworth. I'm gonna go, that's the right one for me because I wanna see what they're doing in Dilworth. So that is the idea of these service pages, is you want an individual page for each location that you actually serve. There's a lot of nuance to it. There's right ways to do it and wrong ways to do it. But from a general sense, if you're thinking, how do I expand out into these other markets? This is the best way to do it. Now, if you're thinking, that's a lot of website stuff. Is that right? Yes. We call it fattening up your website. And basically, if you want your website to be an authority in the space and you want it to be seen as an authority, you need to actually build out a bunch of stuff to make it as the authority. So your website should not be 4 pages and be done. It should be a lot of pages, but quality pages. If they're crap like this, what's going to end up happening is at first, Google's going to go, wow, they have a really, text-heavy page all about, and if you look here, Los Angeles home remodeling. Okay, great. Like, that's what they do. But what's happening is Google's getting really good, and they're starting to shift how they approach SEO. And what they're starting to see more and more of is they're saying, well, we're going to actually track user behavior. So when somebody comes on this website, and because they typed in Los Angeles kitchen remodeling, and they see this page, and they go, wow, this is not a good page, let me leave, Google dings them, and they say that's not what people want. So clearly, we shot them up pretty high. Let's go ahead and start to drop them down a couple of spaces. So you want to balance that good, ability to get found, but also make sure that people don't see it and go, ugh, this is disgusting, I'm leaving. So to make a good service page, there's really a set structure that we like to use. And it combines a lot of the text and the copy, but also making sure that visually it works well and it grabs people and continues to pull them down the page. This is literally what like Apple does with their iPhones, where when Steve Jobs announces the iPhone, it wasn't, function first, then form second. It's function follows form, meaning if the phone is beautiful and it's aesthetically pleasing, people are way more likely to give it even more of a chance rather than go, well, let me convince you that this phone can do all these things, but it looks like a Vietnam-era backpack phone. So we want to make sure that this stuff looks aesthetically pleasing the same way that if your kitchens look ugly, it doesn't matter how functional they are, they're not going to grab people and pull them in. So that is the whole premise of these pages. When it comes to your service page, I'm going to go top to bottom. Now, I'm going to break this down pretty easily, but basically the first thing we want to do is at the very top is we just want to say, this is the service that we provide in this area. Some people love to get cute and go, like design build options for the heart of your home, right? What does that mean? This is like we had for my wedding, our wedding planner, under the FAQs for the dress code, she put the dress code for our wedding was sassy and classy. And all my friends that are guys were like, dude, what does that even mean? And I was like, I think it means this, but this is what I'm wearing. So sometimes you can get cute with this stuff, but what people and Google really want is they just want clarity on what it is that this thing is all about. So this page is all about kitchen remodeling in Charlotte. Then you move down, and I'm going to skip some stuff, but basically I'm going to kind of walk you down the step. The next piece that we like to focus on is instead of taking all that text that you saw on the old page, we actually want to make it more strategic and break it up using visuals. So the next piece that we love to go through is the problem solution sections. All right, and basically what this looks like is you're going to have several sections that basically says, if your kitchen looks like this, then these are some of the ways that we like to fix that. This specific one, this is a solution. There's 3 different solutions for the same one problem, but this is replace every outdated element. So this problem that we're addressing is if you look around and your kitchen feels very outdated, you're probably frustrated. Look below, these are our solutions. So basically, it's a whole problem solution thing, the same way that you're dealing with this in sales calls offline, but we now want to basically take what are the main problems that your ideal client deals with, and then be able to put that online by addressing, we know your problem, and these are the ways that we like to solve that exact thing. And you'll repeat that for as many problems as you typically solve, but basically that is what we want to do up front, is basically say, we know what you're dealing with, this is how we solve it. Next, let's go through the process. Very simple. How do we actually work together, right? In this client, 7-Day Kitchens, they're actually here in Charlotte. One of the cool things is they're able to actually do a kitchen in 7 days. Their average kitchen turnaround time is like 5.4 days. Super cool stuff. The big thing on this website was really all about how can we do this without cutting corners. So a lot of the website's focused around that, but we still need to draw people in and basically say, now that we can prove to you we know your problem and the solutions, let's actually then talk about the process of getting that thing solved. Proof. At the end of the day, people want to actually see the work that you do. It doesn't matter how good I can address the problem solutions or how great my process is. If the kitchens that you are building do not excite your prospects, then it doesn't matter how great you are as a person or how much you use Buildertrend or JobTread, that they're not excited to buy what you got. So we want to make sure that we're still doing a great portfolio that actually highlights the work in a beautiful way. Pricing. All right, another thing here that we want to highlight, if you have a calculator or you have pricing sections, we want to make sure that we add it where it's relevant to that specific service. And then we have another section that's more about FAQs. All right, now the reason that this is a very long page and it has a lot of stuff to it is two things. One, it is meant to basically give like 80 to 90% of the stuff that your prospects are thinking about of like, can they do what I want? What's it cost? How long is it going to take? Does it even look good? What's the process? Things like that. It takes all that information and all those like deeper level questions and it puts it on a page in a very easy to understand way where they go, okay, now I understand what it looks like to work with this company doing kitchen remodeling in Charlotte. This also is great for Google. Google wants to see a comprehensive answer. This is why if you type in Queen of England into Google, the number one answer is going to be Wikipedia, because Wikipedia does a really good job of taking the Queen's entire life and then segmenting it into a way that it's easy to read because it's organized really well. Same idea here, but you want a lot more visuals, and we're trying to basically say, this is what we do, and this is everything that you need to know about this thing. And if you have a page like this for each of your services and each of your areas, that is how you're going to get found. And then you're basically, if you're in the Dilworth area, your problem solution, yes, you talk about it being outdated, but you still talk really heavily around, well, if you are living in a house that was built in 1946, it's probably too small. These are the ways that we like to fix homes in Dilworth. So you're basically taking the same premise as what we have here, but you're now just contextualizing it to the Dilworth area. That is how these service pages are done. They're great for SEO. They're awesome for AI. So you absolutely need one of these for each of the services and each of the locations that you want to be found in. Perfect. Now they can find you. How do we actually get the point across that it's like, this stuff is amazing. We want you to be excited by it. We want you to buy it. Project pages. These are the new hot thing that we started doing a couple years back, and these are the number 2 most trafficked pages on the websites that we build. They have a very long amount of time that people stay on them. We have several clients that say, hey, client came in and said, I saw this page, I want this exact project in my home. They're beautiful. It's basically like taking how you would do a sales process offline and show a prospect like, hey, check out this like whole home remodel in Edmonds that we did, but you're now putting it online on the site. The very last webinar that we did was all about this stuff. So if you want to see more about that, we have a whole webinar on it. It dives very deep into it, but I'm going to give you like the highlights and the overviews to this thing. So top down, same idea here. We still want to highlight basically this is what we did in this area, because guess what? People want to know what did you do and where was it? Because if they're in Edmonds and they want a whole home remodel, this is going to feel very relevant to them. It's also great for Google because now we're basically saying, hey, Google, we did this thing and here's proof of it in this area. And Google goes, wow, that is great. That's basically what you want to do at the top, is really just get them into the door to say, this is what we did. But again, we have a whole webinar that talks about this stuff. Next is going to be basically the overview. What did you actually do? What did it cost? Give me some timelines, give me some locations. But it's the same way that like CNBC has like a, hey, before you read this whole article, here's kind of like the summary of it for you to even see if it makes sense. That's what we want to do. Next is going to be the challenge or the before. What was the issue that we were facing in this home? All right. Was it ugly? Was it not able to like host Thanksgiving dinners, things like that? We just want to basically like set the stage for stuff here to really grab people and bring them in and go, this is why this family spent $630,000 in 5 months updating their home. They didn't do it because they just, they had their wallet was like burning a hole in their pocket. They did it because they had a major issue that they needed to really fix. Next is going to be the approach. This is a huge part of like, how do you differentiate? Right, this is a rendering that one of our clients, or this client did, where you want to basically say is like, this is actually how we approach this stuff. This is what we want to do when it comes into, this is your problem, this is how we're going to solve it. Key features, super important part. There's going to be certain elements that your prospects, like the homeowners, absolutely loved about this project. And instead of you keep giving every single image or every single feature the exact same weight, you basically want to kind of keep a hierarchy here. So for this, the client really wanted to be able to feel like indoor, outdoor, but they also wanted to be able to cook with a beautiful view. So we wanted to highlight those two things. And then lastly, you're going to have your gallery, right? This is just going to be showing the full setup of exactly what you did. Again, I have a whole webinar on this thing, but basically this page is meant to get people to go, dang, this is awesome. I want this in my home. Because if we're just showing off a very bland gallery, or maybe we're doing this, but it's confusing, or they don't really feel as if like they can look at this and go, I feel like I'm in the space and I want that in my home as well, this fails the test of what it's meant to do. It is meant to get people excited and go, I would love this in my home, and I understand what this homeowner went through, and I want the same exact thing. So the point of this page is to basically get people excited about doing a project in their home where they're willing to part ways with 5 months of having strangers in their home and $630,000. If we do that, again, we're golden. Last piece is, great, they're searching for our stuff. They can find it when they're searching. They can find us when they're searching for it. They found a solution that looks beautiful to them. Now, the last piece is, do they believe that you are the one that can provide this solution? And this is where we really take our stuff from we're good to we're exceptional, and this is what makes us stand out. We call these differentiator pages. And there's certain pages that you really want to highlight, and basically this is really like the feature project pages are very good for us at CGN, but this is kind of like our sweet spot of what we do is understand what are the things that you do for homeowners that basically when a homeowner goes, yeah, you should definitely talk to the remodeler that I worked with because I got to go to their showroom and they had this software that was super cool during it that like really highlighted where I was at. And they had this thing called a Gantt chart, and they showed me basically every single day what was done for that day and what's happening tomorrow. All those things that clients will refer you out and like say to their friends about you, most of those should live on the website somewhere. Unfortunately, what a lot of people do is they keep all that in their back pocket. So the only way that somebody would know the experience of working with you, or the way that you approach things, or hell, even like price points of certain things, the only way they would know that is either one, they talk to a referral of yours, or two, they come to you and then you have to tell them all this stuff. And that's a huge part of why a lot of your websites are converting much lower, is because the best parts of what make you special and excite people, whether it's the projects or the USP, the differentiator pages, they're hidden and nobody knows that you actually do these things. So this is such a big part that we like to put a huge focus on, because ultimately, if these are the things that you're like, this is what makes my company special, you absolutely need to be putting this stuff out there. Design page. A remodeling design page is basically what it sounds like. If you do design and you put a lot of energy and effort into your design process, make it a big deal. If it is a big deal to you, where you're like, we've worked really hard on this thing, then it needs to live on its own. It needs to be beautiful. It needs to explain why design, how you work. Here's some examples. Here's what we do specifically when it comes to design that is different than the cabinet shop up the road or the architect up the road. That is the idea of your remodeling design pages. You want to basically sell the idea of why design is important. So when people come to you, they go, I actually want design. And you're like, oh, that's amazing. Like, I didn't even have to convince you to, get into a design agreement. You came to me first. That's the goal of the design page. Inside your remodel page, I'm in month 4 of a home edition project right now. What it looks like to work with a company is super important, right? Especially for a lot of people that are, I'm guessing, if you're watching this and you typically work with people that this is not their first remodel that they're doing, this page is super important. Because typically, if they hired somebody else for a remodel, and then they're coming to you now for another project, it probably didn't go very well the very first time, all right? And because of that, they're coming to you. And they're going to come in with all this baggage. And they're going to say, just like with an X, this is what I liked, but this is what I really didn't like, and that's why I'm not going back to them. That is the same idea here. So you basically want to say, this is what life is going to look like when we're in your home for the 4 months with your 2 kids that live at home. That is what this page is all about. So it's meant to be, these are the things that we know that you're concerned about, and that stops you from hiring a remodeling company. Or when it comes to us versus another remodeling company and we're more expensive and you're probably thinking, why are you 20% more? Well, we can say these are all the little things that are going to happen during the project that we've already thought through because we've done this a lot. This is actually how we account for it. So this page is meant to really sell the idea of why you specifically. So inside your remodel is basically all about the experience. That is the goal of what you want with this page. So if you have a really good process, and that's a huge thing that we focus on here when we build a client's website, is what does the process look like? Somebody day one, like walk me through your full process from lead comes through the website to your closing, your punch list is done, and you're giving them, I don't know, like a big hug at the end or a present, or you're throwing them like an in-home party celebrating their completion of their project. What does that look like? We want to know those things and then be able to show that so people can already see what life is going to look like if they were to hire you, especially if you're more money than everybody else. Job trend / builder trend. If you are very big into job trend or builder trend or some project management software where clients love it and they're able to actually go, hey, I see how you communicate. This was awesome. You want a whole page that's dedicated to this. You use these on your sales calls where if somebody's going, hey, like what's your process look like? Like how do you, do you communicate? I've had a bad experience before. And you can go, actually, let me show you a page. And you pull this page up and you can show them live. Like this is like real screenshots from stuff that we've taken that basically like on the right, you can see real-time project updates. If you're worried about not knowing where you are, guess what? We solved that. We thought about what your fear was and we're actually addressing it proactively. All right. So a lot of this stuff, as you start to see, this is like the whole idea of like when you get ahead of bad information. It's like the whole thing of like when President Obama came out before the election and said, by the way, I've smoked weed before. Like he basically took all the wind out of the sails of everybody going against him that were about to use like the weed issue in their back pocket. Well, he basically said, hey, but before you even bring that up, let me just address it right now. And it just takes all the wind out of the sails. So same thing here is like, you can be proactive with the problem-solving approach to this stuff. As the big thing is like you have to have these processes in place. But if you do, you know damn well that you want everybody to know about it. So that is the goal. Are we the right fit? This is a very straightforward page. We have one on our website. It works really well. It's super cool. Clients come through or prospects come through and go, hey, I read the page that talks all about what you guys do, what you don't do, who you're a good fit for, who you're not a good fit for, and basically I feel like I check all your boxes, or I feel like I check 4 out of your 5 boxes, or they read it and they go, I don't think I'm the right fit right now. So are we the right fit? This is like a self-selection page where basically you're putting all your eggs or cards on the table in a nice way to basically say like, this is a standard remodeling approach versus how we do it. So you're just basically just sitting there explaining your resume versus somebody else's resume to allow the homeowner to figure out, are you the right fit? Service pricing page. This is another one that it works really well for SEO. We built this, this is one of our clients. These are all our clients' websites, but like for this one, they use it really well. Their close rate, I think, went from like 24 to 51%. Once we did a bunch of stuff to the website, including the calculator page, that now they're not the bad guy with the proposal. They're letting the website and the calculator on the website be the bad guy when it comes to initial sales calls. So it's huge. Google loves it. AI search loves it, but it's going to be even better when it comes to giving people ballpark estimates up front. And the last thing is going to be your showroom page. If you are very big on your showroom where it's beautiful and people come in and they love it, do a page for that. Like that is basically, it's like you're eating your own dog food. It'd be like if I looked at our website and say, we don't really touch our website. It's kind of ugly. I know that. And it's really confusing. It's not good. But here's a whole thing on how we build websites that wouldn't make sense, right? So if you have a really good showroom, like you should treat that basically as a project in and of itself. So if you are very big on that and your clients love it, again, make sure you have a page that highlights it, all right? It's the same thing as like Apple has beautiful Apple stores. Imagine if Apple didn't have a brand, they definitely would show off the Apple stores and how beautiful it is on their website because it basically aligns with their ethos, all right? So those are going to be some of your differentiator pages, but basically you want to figure out what are the unique things, or maybe they're not so unique, but they're things that like we do very well that we know our competitors are not talking about online. Can you do a good job of highlighting what that stuff is? And this is basically, if you then look at this stuff, this is your whole business but now put online. So now people understand what you do, why you do it, how you approach it, but you're not just putting in a bunch of bullet point, resume formatting text. You're doing it in a very visual, engaging way that makes it look fun to work with you, and you're actually getting ahead of a lot of potential issues that would stop somebody from wanting to reach out. All right, so that is why our websites always have a 6 times higher conversion rate than others, because not only is it basically taking this very expensive, very invasive thing in someone's home, but it's saying we can make it look beautiful, and this is how we work, and we're putting our cards on the table, and that is what excites people to then want to actually reach out. Because I know when my wife and I were looking for a basement project at our house, basically when she was searching through all these different remodeling websites here in Charlotte, it wasn't like we would get on somebody's website and go, well, this is not great, let me go to somebody cheaper. We still have never done anything with the basement. All right, because we were looking through this stuff, and she was like, this just doesn't look, it doesn't give me confidence that we're going to, have a basement that is worth this amount of money and this amount of, time of having strangers in our home. So we want to take basically all the great stuff that you do and put it online in a beautiful way as well. Now, last part of all this, we talked about SEO, we talked about conversion. The project pages and the differentiator pages are becoming more and more important when it comes to the world of AI search. And before you go, look, AI search, my clientele doesn't really do that. They're old school people. This is from one of our clients that we did a website for, and we're doing SEO for. And he said, okay, yesterday, actually, and this is a direct transcript from him, I was talking to a guy, and he said, well, he said, where'd you hear about us? And the guy said, actually, you're going to be proud of me. I'm in my 70s. I downloaded Gemini, and I asked Gemini, who's the best bathroom remodeler in Longmeadow? And our client came up first. So before you go, AI search, it's very far in the future, it doesn't work. You got 70-year-olds asking Gemini, and that's what is now starting to become more of the norm across the board. So this stuff works really well because back to the original thing of what prospects search for on Google. If they're looking for a kitchen company, it's kitchen remodeling Charlotte, kitchen remodeling near me, and basically you're trying to optimize around those sorts of things. But then you flip it, and the way that AI search functions is AI is all about, instead of just taking like a very base level like kitchen remodeling near me, they're doing their own searches. They're trying to guess more about like best kitchen, this person searched in Gemini for a kitchen remodeling company Charlotte, but what they really probably mean is best Charlotte remodelers who design warm, natural kitchens with tons of storage and kid-safe layouts. And then they do another search behind the scenes of family-focused design build companies in Charlotte that use tech for better project tracking and communication. High-end remodelers near Charlotte who blend modern features with natural finishes, timeless design. Charlotte remodeling firms known for reliable schedules, clean job sites, and stress-free client experience. And basically what this is doing is you type into your ChatGPT or your Gemini, kitchen remodeling company Charlotte, well, your AI knows you pretty well. So for me, I've got young kids, right? I'm a tech person. I like modern style things. And also, I'm busy. I want to know that somebody's going to come in, get the job done on time, stress-free, it's clean job sites. So basically, if I type this in, my ChatGPT or my Gemini or my Perplexity is basically going to say, I know Logan's saying kitchen remodeling Charlotte, but he really means all these things. And what it does is it takes all those different answers from all these different searches, and it combines them into one and provides the response. So now you're probably thinking, great, what's the point of this? These things that are being searched for, these are actually these special differentiator pages that are on your site. So the best Charlotte remodelers who design warm, natural kitchens, tons of storage, that's going to be your remodeling design page because you're talking about your style and how you approach remodeling as a whole from a design perspective on that page. Or if it's the search for family-focused design build companies that use tech for project tracking and communication, that's your job tread page. Remodelers that blend modern features, natural finishes, that's your feature project page that's relevant to that. Or the remodeling firm known for reliable schedules, clean job sites, that's your inside your remodel page. So basically these pages that you maybe look at that and go, well, those are nice pages, but like how does that, is that good for conversion? Is that good for SEO? Right now, it is great for conversion. It is okay for SEO because most people are not really going to Google, typing in Charlotte remodeling firms known for reliable schedules, clean job sites, and stress-free experience. That's too much of a keyword for you to optimize for. However, AI is super smart. It is scanning all of your stuff and it's going, well, let me put all this stuff together. And that is how it then comes back and goes, hey, I know you typed in kitchen remodeling company Charlotte, but we did a really in-depth search for you. We found all this stuff about this one company that addresses all the things that we know you want in a remodeler. This is who we suggest, and that's how this stuff works. This is going to be even more important in the future. So when somebody comes to me and goes, I want more qualified leads, but I'm not redoing my website, I think it looks good, and I look at it and it looks like the SEO one or the branding one that's good, but nobody can find it, or somewhere in the middle, I just think, man, not only are you hurting yourself right now, you're really hurting yourself for years to come, and you don't even know it. That is how important this stuff is. That's why I get so fired up about this stuff, and that's why it took me 45 minutes to say what I wanted to say in 20 minutes, but that's how it all works. So now we'll do some live audits. If you want me to go through your website, let's do it. That said, I'm doing this as a business owner. I'm going to shoot you straight. I'm going to explain how this stuff works. But at the same time, if you want us to do this in private, because I know this would be like if I'm on a webinar and somebody's like, hey, tell me if my kid's attractive. And I give a photo of my kid and they're like, ooh, not a good looking kid. And I'm like, ugh. So if you don't want to do this thing live, you can do this thing in private. We will go through it with you. But basically, here's my big thing to you is, whether you get this done or not, if the website is not built to convert, because it doesn't take all the best part about you and actually put it online, you can get mad, but what's going to end up happening is you're going to then be in the same cycle that you're always in. All right, and eventually it's all going to catch up to you, and you're going to go, damn, I wish I would have listened in 2026, February 12th, but it's 2028. Now I'm ready. So we want to be an early adopter in all this stuff. But without further ado, if you want us to do it, we can do it. But if not, go ahead, we'll do it in private with you, and we'll highlight some of the things that you should be doing. But ultimately, just get this stuff done, right? This is like a colonoscopy for your business. You don't want to do it, but you need to do it. That's what it is. So let's go ahead and check out some websites. All right. Slate Creek, welcome to this. All right, cool. Cassie. We're going to jump in for Cassie's first. So Cassie, fun fact. Cassie used to be my CrossFit coach back when I lived in Blacksburg, Virginia. Yeah, going to school there. Let me get out of this. Cool. All right, so her website is Slate Creek, scbhomes.com. All right, first thing. So coming in, Slate Creek Builders named 2025 Builder of the Year for the NRVA, or New River Valley Home Builders Association. I actually like that as the top. Like, having something like this, if it's done strategically, it's good. I would typically not lead off with that. I would probably have it below the thing that, because like right now, like this is a cool authority play, but ultimately what people are there for is not the Builder of the Year. They're there for this. They want to see what life will look like at the end of this stuff as a whole. So I probably would put that maybe down here below, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's a little bit like out of order, but again, not make or break. Professional design build services. So another big thing here. Unless people are searching for design build in your area, which even in like LA, most people are not searching for that. They're thinking about remodeling. And basically the way that I view this is like design build is like a niche within a niche, right? And the niche is remodeling or home building. And then design build is basically how you do it, okay? People are not searching for how you do it. They're searching for the actual service that you provide. So the better way to do it is to basically say, high-end remodeling services or high-end home building, and then once they get to your site, because that's what most people are searching for, then you say, how do we do it? We do it through a design build process. So basically, it's kind of like when you're trying to get a dog to eat medicine, you take the medicine and you wrap it in cheese. The cheese is what the dog wants, but you know the medicine is actually what it needs. Same idea here. So you want to flip this into more about the thing people are searching for, which is going to be remodeling or home building, then say, by the way, this is how we do it. So a bit of a different approach, but you want to cast a wide net and then bring them in and introduce them to why design build is the best way to do it. let's see if we have service pages. So we do have service pages, kitchens, baths, additions, custom homes, home interiors. I'm curious to see what those are, but let me go through a service page first. Now, again, the first thing that somebody's going to look at is actually the project page, but I'm an SEO nerd. I like to look at this stuff. We love a great kitchen here at Slate Creek Builders. So that's good for you. What's not going to happen is we still want to say, what does this entail? This is a kitchen remodel in the New River Valley area or in Blacksburg or wherever like the location is. We wanted to say what it is because right now we're not signaling to Google, this is the service in this area. This is just saying like a headline of like, we love a great kitchen doing this thing. So then we talk about it a little bit more down here where we're saying this is what we're doing, but ultimately there's a hierarchy of how you want to build the site. And when you have this thing up here, you basically want to say to Google, it's like the Queen of England on the Wikipedia page. The main title is Queen of England, right? So you still want it that way to signal to Google, this is what this is all about. On this, again, good photos are always going to win, but we want to talk way more about what the actual service entails. Right now, without seeing this, I don't know what the actual service looks like, what were the problems, what were the solutions. If I want to work with you on remodeling my kitchen, how does it work, right? I have a bunch of questions around what stuff costs, what does that look like? So there's a lot of things that if you think about what a typical sales process would look like when you're doing a kitchen remodel, what are people asking for? What do they want to know? What do they want to see? What do they want to envision? Those are all the things that you want to have on this website, on this individual page. So we definitely want to overhaul this into something that guides them more through the overall really process of working with you to be able to then, like the goal is to basically have them come in and go, hey, I read your kitchen remodeling page. I feel like I have a very good understanding of what it looks like to work with you, and they're a lot more on board for working with you. Let me go through the last piece, which is going to be feature projects. Let me see if I can find a kitchen one because those are cool. Church conversion. All right, let's see what we got. So church conversion. Project was the conversion of the Christian Science Society church building into single-family residence. Okay, couple things. So first off, when we build out a feature project page, we want to tell more of the story visually as much as possible. Right now, this sounds like a super complex, super cool project to take it basically from a church building into a single-family home. Like, how do you even do that? I want to see what it looked like beforehand because that's not only going to show me the before and after. It's kind of like if you want to get in shape and you see a really ripped person in like the after, you want to see what they came to because like basically if they went from 195 pounds to 193 pounds, like that's not super relevant. And also with this, you want to this shows your skill set. You're basically taking it from like a church to a really cool single family home. Same idea there. So you want to be able to show the befores, the problems that people were dealing with, and then overall the approach. If you are saying, hey, we are design build, I want to see the design associated with this because I want to be able to envision the approach. Oh, before photos. Here's the thing. I didn't even know those existed. We want to put those at the top. All right. Yes, you want to show the after immediately because basically we want to get people sucked in and draw them down, but like show a very simple before. It doesn't have to be like a huge gallery of befores. If you just had this in one single line, this is plenty, right? We don't need to overdo the befores, but we just want to see enough to get the point across that it's like, hey, we took this church and we turned it into this. So we want to follow that feature project page setup. That is the goal here. So overall, Cassidy, it really comes down to, I think you guys do a lot of great stuff. And I know I did a podcast with you guys, so I learned a lot about how the business actually operates. If I'm just being candid, there's a lot that is left to be desired based off of if I took the podcast and all the stuff that you guys talked about, how you approach things, and then said, great, now this is the website. You have pretty photos and good projects on here, but the way that you're explaining it is basically it needs to be seen as like a resume for the business in a way that it's very visual, but also sucks people in and keeps them going down and going, this is amazing. I can see myself working with them. So that's what I would do. Cool. All right, next one, Pondscapes of Charlotte. All right, we're going to do a pond website. This is my my background. All right, Pondscapes of Charlotte. So first off, coming in, big thing here is going to be let this stuff breathe a little bit more. This is more of a design thing, but right now it feels very cramped. We're trying to fit a lot into one section. So let it breathe, let it open up a little bit more. Why build one, design it? The one thing I will say is interior remodeling is a different approach than outdoor living spaces, which is different than ponds, which is different than HVAC. So all these different, you may be thinking like, oh, contractors are similar. From a website perspective, they're vastly different, because just to give a quick highlight, interior remodeling, I'm inviting somebody into my home. I have a 2-year-old and I have a 5-month-old, all right? In our addition right now, our 2-year-old is, at first he was obsessed with the workers. Now he's petrified of the workers. So basically I'm inviting you into my home. Ponds is different. You have a lot more wiggle room because you're outside the home, which is not nearly as invasive. So ponds actually get a lot more wiggle room here. I truly believe that remodeling is the most invasive and probably the hardest thing in the contracting space to market, because of how expensive it is, how long people are there for, and how invasive it is. That is why like the tightrope to make this stuff work is that important, all right? So I'm saying all that as a caveat is what I say on the pond stuff. You may go, well, my website looks like that. If you're ponds, perfect. If you're not ponds, it's different. There's a lot here. It's almost too much. There's a lot of stuff going on, but like pond and waterfall services. All right, so you have cleanouts, you have seasonal essentials, monthly VIP, quarterly VIP, renovations, leak. Basically, we want to guide people a little bit more, because with a remodel, kitchens versus bathrooms versus basements, it's pretty obvious of what it is. In this case, I don't really know the difference of monthly versus quarterly VIP, because I don't even know what VIP necessarily is. So we want to simplify this stuff as well and really hammer down. Basically, the pond world's a little bit more education rather than finesse and exclusivity, if you will, compared to like remodeling. Let's pick out a cool project. Oh, I've seen this one on Instagram. It's awesome. Maybe not. I think it's the one that, either way. Let me see. So the vision, the transformation. So they're hitting the right points where you can look through it. Yeah, on this one, what I would do more of is, again, give it some space to breathe. It's all a little bit too tight up top. The whole point of a pond is meant to feel peaceful and serene and quiet. And like, I have a pond in my front yard. I have a pond in my backyard here in my home in Charlotte. It is awesome. Like, we love it. We sit there. We now have a heron that's eating a lot of our fish, which totally sucks, but they're super peaceful. We want the website to feel peaceful. All right, so there's a lot of like little design elements, Brad, on this one that like we would want to update to make it feel a little bit softer, a little bit more serene, add a little bit more white space into it. But overall, I mean, the fact that you have these pages, like there's a whole notion in the pond world that everybody wants a pond, they just don't know it yet. That's the idea here. So good job with this. I would just let this stuff breathe a little bit more. All right, next one, T. King Construction Services. T. King Construction Services. All right, let's see what we got. Our customization sets us apart. We love our clients and the results of working together. All right, so the first thing is, I don't really know what we do. So construction services, is it remodeling? Is it home building? The logo is showing me a forest, so maybe this is like more external stuff, but there's a bathroom. I don't really know. I'm also not a huge fan of having the menu at the bottom. It is a design style thing, but I typically don't love it, so I probably wouldn't do it. We look forward to hearing about your vision. Okay, now it's starting to say we specialize in basement finishing, bathroom remodeling, kitchen renovation, custom decks, outdoor spaces. Yeah, basically we just need to like simplify this a little bit more and make it like easier to understand what you do. We don't have any service pages, so I don't know if what we're doing right now is like, okay, basement build out, wine room, attic gym, freestanding tub. If I'm being blunt, it feels like people are hiring you for a bunch of like one-off projects versus you go, hey, these are the things that I actually do as like my core services. So we need to really stick on that and basically say, this is what I like to do, this is what I'm known for, this is what I'm good at. Like when you say things like basement, bathroom, kitchens, we should then have a page for a basement remodeling or basement finishing, kitchens and bathrooms, and then have the work in these projects that back it up. All right. Our work, let's see what this looks like. All right, so it looks like it's just more of this. All right, let me pull up the wine room. This is probably a Nevada site. Project description. Okay, so we have a description here. Yeah, basically, well, we want more. We want to show like the full thing of what we're building out. It's kind of like, think about when you're selling a home on Zillow or MLS, you have the whole home there. You can walk through it. It looks great. So we want more of this stuff. We want to talk about what we did, why we did it. Again, like the hierarchy of the stuff matters as well. Massive image, so it means that people are going to stop and look at the image, but then tiny text, they're not as likely to then read it because of, one, how much text is in a block, but also the size of it. So basically, we want to really think about how the space comes together in a home, but now do it on the website as well. So overall, I think we got a lot to go for with the website of like service pages, beefing out project pages, and making it easier to understand what specifically that you do. All right, cool. So we have, I'll do Midwest flooring next, then Parker Patina. Yep, I got it. And then I'll do Tim's Home Improvement. All right, MidwestFlooringCompany.com. All right, flooring company, Kansas City's premier flooring contractor. All right, free estimate, feature projects. I'm not a huge fan of these. I used to do these. These are kind of like, I don't know, maybe this don't appeal to me or like the circles that I'm in, but when you put up like Google or like Top Rated Home Advisor, it's fine, but like if you can find more relevant things that like awards that you won or stuff like that, it's going to make it pop a lot more. 15 years of experience, 500 projects completed, 100% satisfaction rate. The first thing, if I'm going to be blunt, if you've done 500 projects and you've never had somebody say this is not great, it may seem like this is the right move, but I'm immediately like, how has this never had an issue? All right, this is not going to make or break it, but it's just something to think about. Where it's like, if it's like 99.2% satisfaction rate, I think that's a hell of a lot stronger and more realistic than 100%. 100% could be real, but then I would add in 100% satisfaction rate asterisk and then below it with an asterisk of like, this is actually legit. Then I'm like, okay, it's more realistic. Complete flooring, so hardwood, custom tile, luxury vinyl plank. Overall, it's a very clean website. Yeah, I like this a lot. It's us versus them. Yeah, and again, flooring is different. Like flooring is not, take this with with in a nice way, but it's not like this like they're romanticizing about this stuff a ton. It's like, for me, I have all hardwood floors in my home. When I go to redo them, I need somebody that I can trust that does hardwood and like specializes it versus just like a contractor that, does it all, but also could sub out hardwood floors, because we've had a bad experience with hardwood flooring company in the past. Good at the top. Good. Yeah, like I think like stuff like this where it's like, we're a certified installer, that's great. This is awesome because it's kind of showing the differences. And again, hardwood flooring is a bit of a different industry than it's going to be for remodeling because of what goes into it. Yeah, overall, this is very solid. Why choose hardwood flooring? That was a big one. Like in our addition that we're having done right now, like when we had the hardwood floors done upstairs in our nursery, we had to leave with a 2-week-old baby for a week because they redid the floors. And on this one, we're really good about doing remodel projects when we have kids. So we have a 5-month-old now, and we're very much like, hey, when we do the floors in this, are we going to have to leave for another week? Because like we can do that with one kid, but with 2 kids, it's going to be tough. And they're like, nope, this is how the process works. We actually do a different type of finish on it. So those are some of the things that I would want to also address here. But this is great. I would 100%. The only thing that I would update to the site is I would expand stuff out a little bit more. Like this might just be the screen that I'm on. But you could do bigger pictures, show also what it like Overland Park, nice area. Let me see what we got for this project. Oh, basically what we're trying to do is, all right, here's a good example. Let's say we did this project, which I assume that you did. Well, that's a lot of text. Okay. Damn, I was like, man, I'm not going to find any faults on this website. But you could definitely break this up a lot more, show what it looked like before. When this is actually staged, like this looks awesome. This is way better because you actually see the use case of how people do it. What's cool is you didn't just take a photo of the floors because that's fine, but what you really want to see is the actual, like, to build up authority where you are in these spaces. That's what we want. So this is like, looks like a very high-end area. If I'm in Overland Park, I probably would know what this is or have an idea of it. You definitely want to break up the text, show more visuals. Even if you then took this and like explained how the process worked with different images, that's going to go a lot better, and people are going to stick on what you actually did a lot more. But overall, I mean, like, this is a very solid website. This is the biggest shifts that I would make. But yeah, nice job. All right. Tasha, I think our conversion rate is still closer to 0.38 rather than the 2.5. Yeah, then I mean, like, again, there's a lot of stuff that like goes into this. Just like from and the other thing is, like, also when you look at like the conversion rate stuff, part of it could also be what traffic is coming to the site. Like, are you getting people that are actually looking up flooring company near me? And it's like, oh, that's good traffic. They should convert. Or is it all like, I don't know, you're optimized for the word Midwest. So people are just thinking like, I'm going to type in Midwest because I'm learning about the Midwest and I go to this website. And of course, you're going to have a low conversion rate. So there are elements there that like you definitely want to see what is coming in as well to be able to make that update. All right, Cassie, Park and Patina. I'll come back to that one. Let's do it. parkandpatina.com. All right. We design and build your remodel so your life doesn't have to revolve around it. Our team designs and builds your home from first concept to final completion. Cool. We want to talk about where we're doing it. I have no idea where you're located. Again, if I'm in the area or I know Sean who runs this and I go to the website, then I have a good understanding. But otherwise, like, Google doesn't know what this stuff is either. So we need to say this is basically where we do it as well. This right here looks like we definitely need to update this. This is beautiful, like the awesome photo. I like the font or the typography here. Cool logo, and then it comes down into looks like I basically just like photocopied some graphics and put them up there. It's better, honestly, if it's going to look like this with these logos, it's better just to not even include them. Designers and builders and project leaders working together from day one. Our services. All right, let's see if we're going to this in a second. We're so glad you're here. Yeah, this is cool. Again, this might just be because like the viewport that I'm on, but like this, it's wide. It lets it breathe. It looks good. And then when you come down to this, it's very skinny. You want to basically have like the same lines. So like if you see how where my cursor is right now, that's here. Then if I go straight up, is a big gap in between there. Unless it looks very intentional. Like this looks like it's clearly meant to be very wide. This looks like it's clearly meant to be narrow, but then this and this should be lined up as best as possible as well. These are things that you're probably not going to always notice as a consumer, but these are the small things that subconsciously you are going to pick up from on a design perspective. Let me pull up services. Kitchen remodel. Kitchen remodel, Park and Patina, elevate your Orlando home. Yeah, it should be like, you know, high-end kitchen remodeling in Orlando. Kitchen's more than a place to cook. It's the heart of your home. I may be too close to the sun on this one or too close to it all, but like this stuff, like we've started to kind of get rid of like the kitchen's the heart of the home piece just because a lot of people talk about it. A lot of this stuff, what we've learned over the years is that if you think about storytelling and like you're trying to get the emotion across, what you write copy-wise, it's really the images are the emotion. The copy is more about like backing it up with like how we approached it, what we did, why we did it, things like that. So go more image heavy. Yeah, you want to go way more image heavy. You have awesome photos down here that look super cool. These should be way more prominent than basically coming down. And like some of these are very small. If you have, I mean, like, this is what sells you work. Not this, it's this. This is great. If you see it's a nice quote, it's short, it's highlighted big. Basically, if you're scrolling, you're probably not going to read any of this stuff because what you should do instead is show it. So custom design expertise, great. Don't just say it, show it. Attention to detail, perfect. Show a close-up of some nice inset cabinets or something that requires a lot of craftsmanship. Execution, or, you know, like, so basically there's ways to go about it where instead of just saying, this is what we did, this is basically a longer version of what we did, you want to show it as much as possible, all right? And then use these way up top and scatter it throughout a lot more, you'll be set. Let me check out a portfolio page. Kitchen for a family. All right, cool. Future project, kitchen remodeling for a family to do life together in one space. Love that line. Client came to a kitchen where they can cook. Cool. So if you notice how this is like different sizes, different spacing, if it's intentional, it is great. You can do it. Just make sure it looks intentional like how it does here. If this was a little bit bigger, then it would start to look a little bit too odd. This is an awesome shot right here. If you notice how it's straight on and it's cropped and framed really well, good lighting, that's the goal. Project highlights. Yeah, the photography is awesome. Before photos kind of gets wrapped up into this. Yeah, overall, I mean, like, the work is great. The branding is cool. There's just a lot of like reconfiguring how a lot of this stuff is. It just feels like it's like a lot of splattering of stuff and it's kind of like all over the place. And the whole goal here is that there's a book called Selling the Invisible, and basically the premise of Selling the Invisible is all about people don't know how to judge what you're going to do specifically in their home, so they're using things like your website. When you do a design proposal, how does it look? Is your truck all beat up and are you coming out with a cigarette button and flicking it in their yard? Or are you showing up really, you know, professional? And like, if there's somebody that wants really, like for us, like our designer, like for our addition, like she's done our bathroom, she's done my office here, she's done our addition here or in my home. She's very design heavy herself. She shows up. She always, dresses very fashionably. My wife commented on that where she was like, I feel better that she's the one designing this because I feel as if she is fashionable as a whole, which means if she's trendy in her life, she's going to be trendy when it comes to our bathroom or my office or stuff like that. So basically, that is like that idea of selling the invisible, which is like they don't know how to judge you until you're in their home and then they can judge you. So you need everything else to be very dialed in where like if you are very stylistic like this, these are great shots. But if it then feels like this is a bit chaotic, it doesn't look like this was like super well thought out, they're going to assume the same thing of working with you. That's just kind of how it works. All right, Cassidy, so back to the SBC. I think I have it all split out. So I need to move some parts around in our process page, have it all how we do stuff. It's not built into our project pages, so it's interesting to consider how to integrate. Yes, whole goal is to basically put it all together. So like this is like we still do it because clients want us to do it. I don't think it helps or hurts necessarily, but core values of your company. 99% of your homeowners do not care about your core values, right? Because most of them are kind of generic core values, and even if you embody them, that's perfect, but you need to embody them in your work. So let's just take Parker Patina right here. If one of their core values was design first, that's great. But what's even better is if they can actually show design first in what they do. If they truly embody it, that's what we want. So it's the same idea here when it comes to like the process. Like you can still have process pages, but if your process is truly a big part of what you do, it should be infused into the service pages and into the project pages and things like that. So you're constantly just seeing, oh, this is their process. Same thing with design. If design is a big deal for you, then show design as much as possible in what you do. So that's the idea of that, is you want to infuse it as best as possible. All right, next one. So timshomeImprovement.net. All right, reliable handyman services in Milwaukee. Again, handyman different than home remodeling because of price points and time that he's going to be in here. Couple things here. So a lot of this industry is about trust, right? the more that we have stock images, that it's obvious it is stock images, the more trust that we are slowly chipping away and removing. The more that we can go into things that are, and we used to do this ourselves, where we'd like have a client and we're like, you don't have any photos, it's fine. Like, just, we have like stock images that we can use. Here's ones that you may not know, like that aren't super common ones, but they're still stock. And what ends up happening is, if we're in Milwaukee, I've never been to Milwaukee, Tim, so don't roast me for this, but I don't know how common of a bathroom this is in Milwaukee. Like, if I look at just like the toilet, like the flush right here, I see that usually in Europe. So unless that's super common in Milwaukee, then I'm going to look at it and go, well, this is not his. And if this is not his, what else is not his? So same thing here, door and window replacement. I typically, here in Charlotte at least, I don't see many people that wear hard hats to replace windows. So, like, there's a lot that goes into this stuff that we want to make sure that, one, the photos they look good, but ultimately, if it's overly stock, then everything else from like a brand trust perspective is going to fall by the wayside as well. Yeah, services are all, so this is a single page site. You want to kind of break out into individual pages, especially for a handyman, because you typically do a lot of services. You want to make sure that, I think you just got to overhaul this bad boy and just get photos of what you do. On a handyman side, it's not as much necessarily about like, people are not hiring a handyman for like, oh, this is going to be like the most custom craftsmanship. A lot of it is like, how are you showing up? So you're a combination of remodeling, where it still is the work, but also like HVAC technician, but like the HVAC of like Morris Jenkins, which is who we have here in Charlotte. I'll just show you. Morris Jenkins' website is great. It doesn't show a bunch of HVAC units. It shows happy technicians dressed in nice button-downs that are smiling. So they want the opposite approach, which is the exact thing that you should do when you're HVAC, which is not like, we will have the best AC unit or the best furnace. It is, we will have the best, most friendly people. Like, this dude's laughing, right? Like, everybody's smiling. There's nobody in these photos that are just like, have their hood on and they look pissed off, right? So same thing here. So on the handyman side, you want to kind of find the middle ground of like happy, friendly people in the home, but also still have like work that is nice that you can like stand behind. I don't think it has to be as like design focused as a remodeler, unless you're going to go that direction. But the fact that you're reliable, that's a big part of this. I mean, your local handyman for reliable repairs and renovations. Reliability is a big part of it. How do you show reliability in the person as well? All right, another one. I'm an interior design student in my last semester of degree. I'm building my portfolio on a website on Wix. I'm not sure how it will look to have projects on there that were student projects, not live projects. Do you have suggestions on how to word or list these? Honestly, I'd probably just say this is what I did for this stuff. I would just be truthful about it. I'm looking at this more as like, if I've hired a bunch of people here at my company. I get what goes into this stuff. It's cool when people have a portfolio website for their stuff, especially like as a marketing person. Like, if you're like, I am a good website designer, and then your resume is just like a boring PDF, it typically doesn't do well. But I would say for this one, I would just highlight like, if you're on Wix, I'd probably just find a Wix template that is focused more on like interior design, and then just explain what you did on that project. But that's basically how I would do it. You don't need SEO. That's why Wix works really well. It's easy for you to use. I'm guessing you're just basically going to use it as a portfolio to send out to hiring managers when it comes to interior design or when it comes to trying to find a job. But if you are saying, no, I actually want to start my own interior design business, people are trusting you. So if you have cool design and you're able to show that stuff off in a unique way, ultimately, this is like getting your first job out of college. It's starting small and doing it for friends and family, then building up your portfolio that way. It's like stacking. A lot of, we talked to a lot of people that are like, hey, I've always done hallway bathrooms, but now I want to do custom homes. It's very hard to go from hallway bathrooms and have somebody trust you for a custom home. You basically need to go from hallway bathroom to primary bathroom to kitchen to first floor remodel to home addition to ADU to custom homes. So you're basically taking bigger and bigger projects as you go. All right, last one. Let's see what we got. Feel free to check out our page. Oh, that's not the right one. That was Tim's. All right. Oh, I know this one. Cool. So let's go through it. This is your very last one. So here is something that you're probably not going to like to hear. You have the generalist. So this is a business model thing, and I'm speaking to this as a consumer of this stuff. I've now spent a lot of time and money and stuff on remodels, but to have somebody that can do custom homes, additions, renovations, kitchens, bathrooms, outdoor, new construction, rebuilds, maintenance, all for residential and commercial. This is your typical GC. It's harder. People in Google like specialists, right? You want to go to a heart surgeon if you have heart problems. So it's a business model scenario. It doesn't mean that you cannot do both residential and commercial side stuff, but you just got to recognize that, like, if commercial is using your website to find, like, are you credible, all that kind of stuff, then it makes sense to have something up there. But basically, if commercial's like, I don't really need that, like, I'm just going to use you because you're on an approved vendor list, I wouldn't even do, from a marketing perspective, commercial. I would just do residential, because residential is really going to be the people that use your website. Commercial is more of like, do they have the capabilities to do some of these projects? If you did want to go that direction, you're like, that's exactly how it is. I wouldn't put this in the top. I would actually put this more in the bottom, because honestly, if I'm hiring somebody for a custom home, I'm going to go for a custom home builder. If I'm hiring somebody for a bathroom, I'm going for a remodeler. If I'm going for somebody for a commercial, I'm going for a commercial contractor. So I'm going for different things. So you just want to make sure that, like, you're appealing to the ideal client that you have. So the more dialed in that you can make it, the easier it's going to be. With all that said, this is like the typical, concept of creation. We build with dedication. Again, I would say what you do. Like, you're a GC. I would say that you're a GC. Where are you, right? Let's make it easy for people in Google to understand what we do. Let me pull up one of the services. Let's just go to kitchens. All right, residential kitchen remodeling services. Where? Again, we want to say where we are. People want to know it and feel like, okay, I'm in this area. That makes sense. Google also wants to see it. So, let's see. Yeah, I mean, this is kitchen, updating your... It feels like it was just kind of put together, but, like, updating your kitchen can completely transform the feel of your home, creating a more functional and modern space. We've got a couple photos, like, this is a cool looking kitchen. We're committed to quality construction. This is kind of like that. If you look at my slides, it's like that middle ground where it's like the local person that's got some SEO and then some design focus. But either way, it's going to be just mediocre SEO and mediocre conversion. That's kind of what this one falls into, where it's just like you put some stuff together. It does have some photos. It does have some text, but ultimately, it just feels like you're throwing a bunch of stuff out there versus, like, having it actually be intentional and go, great. What's the first thing we need to do? Big image, get somebody excited about what it is that we do, move them down and say, great, this is the problem that you have. These are our solutions and how we approach it. So now somebody goes, great, now I know that they can actually solve my problem. Then it goes into, what's the process to work together? Then it goes into, what's it cost? Then it goes into customer experience and testimonials. So basically, you want to think through this more of like how a sales process is going to go, rather than just putting a bunch of stuff up and saying, great, what do you think? I'll do the About Us page. How about that? Because I haven't done one yet. So something that most people do not do a good job of is photos. These are solid. Like, a lot of people just have, like, you can do a family photo, but ultimately, unless that's your whole spiel, which is like, we are family oriented and you're like in a small town, family feel doesn't work that well in, South Florida. Family feel works really well in Northwest Arkansas. So I would just think about it that way, but this is good. I mean, it shows the team. Here's a really cool one of here. I'll show you. It's a really good About Us page. Let me see if I can get it. So there's your family feel one, but it still shows like nice photography, good background. Everybody's in a polo. Everybody's smiling. Like from an image perspective, this works really well. So it's really good. This, again, still solid. Yeah. But But I mean, like the mission part's big, but I would also show like the team in action. If you have like a history of the company, those are also very cool to do. But you also got to have like old school photos of you working when it's like, black and white and grainy, and you're like swinging a hammer, and you're, old school, and it shows like the timeline of stuff. But basically, like the About Us page is like not as big of a deal these days. They are in some industries. Like we have some clients that are like more on the custom home building side. It's a big deal. But for most people, that's like one of the, not bottom pages, but kind of close to the bottom pages as far as like what people go to. Biggest thing is going to be your gallery. Are people able to come in? You want to build out like service pages for these things. Again, if this is actually your work, some of these I can click on, some of these I can't. I don't know how, if this is your work or not. Maybe. I'm going to guess no. This is my guess. Oh, yeah, there's a stock image in that one for sure. And then that. Yeah, I think you just got to hire a professional photographer and just invest in that. Put 10 grand into it. Get 5 great projects that align with the top services that you want. Build out really good service feature project pages for them. And that will then be like your staple projects that you can sell from, and makes it easy. So, all right, cool. That's everybody. Now, again, if you want us to do this in private, thank you guys for being bold and having us do it. But if you want us to do it, I will do it. I love doing this stuff. It's a lot of fun. But again, you want take your lead flow, multiply it by 6. That is the difference of an existing website and a great website. And that is the goal here, is to make sure that you are basically taking all the stuff that you do really well off on, you put it online, and that way if a prospect looks at it and goes, this is not the right company for me, but you know damn well that you put all your eggs out front, that's great. But what you don't want to do is look like everybody else, because ultimately it's going to be another year where they're like, well, I'm just going to keep delaying, because they typically don't go for somebody else. They typically just don't get excited enough about the project or excited enough about the remodeling company that they just punt, and they're going to be like myself and my wife, where we go, nah, we're just going to keep punting on the basement until we find somebody that we get excited by to actually then put a bunch of resources into a basement. So if you want us to do this stuff for you, hit us up. We specialize in this stuff. We've only done 800 of these bad boys, but make this a good year. So I'll see you guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for sticking with it. See ya.